Hello, this video is about deploying your web application on AWS cloud infrastructure. It is assumed that you have good working knowledge of basic AWS services. I have used a web application based on Lambda, that is College Management Project. I will be deploying this project now on a Windows server using the native IIS server and web platform installer. This application is only for reference and serves as a guide as to how you can develop and deploy your applications on AWS. You can use it as a base and start developing further or bring your entirely different project. In this demo, I will start with enabling CloudTrail logs for audit purpose. I will use S3 to create a new bucket for storing the log files. We will create a custom VPC in one of the regions with public and private subnets. We will use two different availability zones here. Next step will be to create security groups for web server instances and the RDS instances. Once done, I will create an EC2 instance using AWS Windows Army with IIS enabled. Then I will do some installations and configurations followed by uploading the project. Then I will create a RDS instance with MySQL database engine and change the connection string in my project accordingly to establish a connection with EC2 and RDS. Once the project is running successfully, I will create an army from my instance, EC2 instance, so that it can be used to create more such web server instances using auto scaling policies and attach them to an elastic load balancer. After setting up this infrastructure, I will show how to create IAM users, roles and policies in order to enable automation using AWS CLI or PowerShell. I will also show you how you can use Lambda functions in combination with CloudWatch for a scheduled automation of shutdown and startup of your instances. Specifically in the case of our project, like it is a college management software which will be used by college administration during working hours. So in order to save the billing costs, we will schedule them to shut down at 6 p.m. in the evening and start up automatically at 8 a.m. in the morning on every weekday. So this is a basic architecture diagram of the VPC that we will be building. We will be using the geographic region US East 2, that is Ohio, and two availability zones we will be dealing with, that is 2A and 2B. We are taking a VPC pool with 64 IP addresses and creating 4 subnets of 16 IPs each, 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets, where one public and private subnet will be in each 2A and 2B. The public subnet will be used for EC2 web server, which will be linked to an elastic load balancer, and RDS instance will remain in the private subnet in both availability zone. So we start with creating the bucket for CloudTrail logs. Let us give it a name, My AWS CloudTrail bucket, and change the region to our region which we are working in, that is Ohio, and try next. Oh, so the bucket name already exists. We need a unique name here. Let me add 2017 here and click next. So it goes to the next screen. I don't need any versioning or logging to be enabled on this bucket. Next. I do not want to give any public access also. Next. Yeah, this is the review screen and create bucket. So finally my bucket is created in US East Ohio. Now I will go to the CloudTrail section and get started. Give a trail name. Let us call it My AWS Proj CloudTrail. So apply trail to all regions. No, I only want it to be applied to Ohio region, and select the S3 bucket here. I do not want to create a new bucket. I already have it. So I have selected my bucket, and I'm not touching any advanced features here. If I want, I can add a prefix to the log files, and So that is pretty much it. I don't need any encryption also, no validation, nothing, no notifications for each log file delivery. That will be disastrous. So let us create this. So here my CloudTrail is finally created, and on the bucket, if you go to permissions, you will find that here is a bucket policy, a JSON already present there, which enables access to the CloudTrail service. So if you go into deep into the bucket, folder by folder, you will find that the log files have already started generating in today's date. Here it is. The JSON file has been zipped and placed in the bucket. So these files will keep generating as now we are going to take actions on our AWS system. So now we are in the VPC section. We are starting we already have here one VPC. This is the default VPC. So we need to create a custom VPC now, and so we'll do it using the wizard. So first option is to create a single public subnet. Second option is VPC with public and private subnet. We will use this option. Select this. So this is a basic diagram here already shown. We are selecting this. So the default VPC pool is with a mask of 16. We don't need these many addresses. I need only say 64 IP addresses. So out of which 5 are obviously reserved. Let me call it AWS Project Demo, and public subnet will be of 16 IP addresses. And yes, I will keep my one public and private subnets in region US East 2A. So this will be the public subnet 1 in region 2A. Then I am creating my private subnet starting from IP 10.0.0.16 with a mask of 28. So till 31 this will be here. US East 2A will be my region, and this will be my first private subnet in 2A. So next section is there. It will ask you for a Elastic IP. Instead you can use a NAT instance. I do not want to create a whole instance for my NAT. I will go to my Ec2 Elastic IP section and allocate a Elastic IP, and then come back to here is a Elastic IP generated. I will now come back to my VPC section. Before that, if you see your Elastic IP, there is no private IP address, only the Elastic IP is there. Now in VPC, as soon as you click there in the field, it will automatically show you the Elastic IP. I am not changing any other settings. I have enabled DNS hostname. Hardware tenancy is default. I do not need any dedicated tenancy. Once this gets generated, you can switch over to yes, this message will be there in green. Your VPC has been successfully created. Then you can see your VPC in the VPC section. One is default, another is the one we have all just now created. So this is it. Go to the subnet section, and oh sorry, here is a filter. Yeah, so now my 2 subnets in this VPC are showing. Other 3 are for the default VPC. So let me just okay, so I can just use a filter here. Type in the VPC name so that only the subnets of this VPC are now being displayed. Yes, so public and private subnet that we had created in availability zone 2A, these are visible, and you will find that one IP address is less in the public subnet, which is being used here. This is used by the NAT gateway, and NAT gateway is always created in the public subnet. You can see that the available IPv4 in public subnet is one less. than what was expected. Coming to the route table, you can see that the internet bound traffic in public subnet is going through internet gateway, and the internet bound traffic in case of private subnet is going through the NAT gateway. Now we are going to create a subnet. So yes, this will be my third subnet. Let's keep it public, and this will be the second public subnet in region 2B, and my VPC is already selected. I am selecting the availability zone and giving the IPv block 10.0.0.32 with a mask of 28. So let us create this. So we see that this subnet is quite generic. We haven't yet specified whether it is going to be a public one or private one. So by default it has attached it to the internet bound traffic is going to the NAT. The same route table has been attached which was being used in the private subnet by default, but we need this route table, so we note the route table ID and edit the route table here, change it and just save it. So now the internet bound traffic is going through internet gateway. This makes it a public subnet. Let us create the fourth subnet, the second private subnet in availability zone 2B. So we just give it a name, say private subnet 2 in 2B. Availability zone shall be 2B, and IPv block will be similarly 10.0.0.48 with a mask of 28. So this will be till 63. We have completely utilized our VPC block. So yes, now this is created. We have all the 4 subnets. Coming to the private subnet, we just check the route table once. Yes, the internet bound traffic will be through the NAT. Everything looks fine. Our 4 IPv blocks are here. So that's pretty much it. Moving to the EC2 section. Before we launch any instances here, we just want to have a look over the security groups that we have. So we find that there are 2 default security groups already here, but they belong to different VPC. So VPC IDs are different. Just let's go once to the VPC section, just check which VPC ID is default and which VPC ID we have just created, and match them and tag them properly here so that we can identify. So this one belongs to the default VPC security group, and this one is the default security group of the VPC that we have created. So I name it as project VPC security group. So now we create a new security group. This will be used by the web server that we will be creating. So I just name it as Windows Web Security Group and write some description here. So all the internet bound traffic of the website content that will be served to your web browser will be going through this security group. And since I will be needing RDP access to the server at times, so since this is just a demo server, I am allowing RDP from anywhere. In production you should allow it only from your PC. And I also need HTTP port access from anywhere, and just create it. So now here it is created. I'm giving it a name tag as well. So Windows Web Security Group, and I just refresh the page once so that the latest changes that we have made have been loaded to all the resources on this page. Now we try creating a new security group. Before that, we just note the security group ID of the security group that we have just created for our web server. Just copy it, and then we are now creating a security group for our RDS database instance. So I am naming it as MySQL DB security group. Write a description over here. My VPC is also selected. So this is MySQL security group for MySQL RDS. instance, add rule, this will be MySQL, the default port 3306, and the source will be custom, and the value will be the security group of our yes web server. So this will allow traffic only from the instances that have this particular security groups. So let us create this. So this is created. Now let me give it a name tag as well. Inbound, yes, here I can see the inbound rule that we have just given. So I'm giving it a name tag MySQL DB security group. That's it. So once we are done with the security group creation, I will go ahead and start launching my instance, EC2 instances. I am selecting a Windows Army for my EC2. I will select the one which has IIS pre-enabled so that I do not have to do any manual configuration after launching the EC2 instance. So I have found one. This one has SQL Server Express and IIS pre-enabled. There is no other army with IIS. So I am going to select this for my demo EC2. Just for the sake of performance, I am ignoring the free tier and choosing T2 small instead of T2 micro. So I will get more memory and better performance. Here on the next step, I am selecting my VPC. Then one of the public subnets, I will select the first public subnet which is in region 2A, and public IP I will enable definitely because I need public access, and I am selecting to protect it from accidental termination. And you can also enable CloudWatch detailed monitoring here, but yes, this is just a project demo, so I am not selecting this for the moment. Next step, we just need to add some storage. I am keeping the default volume size. Tags, here I can add some key value pairs, so just let's go ahead and add a name. So this is my web server 1, web server 1. Okay, and another tag I will add the purpose. So purpose is project demo. Next will be the security group. I will be choosing an existing security group which I have already created. This is Windows Web Security Group with HTTP and RDP access suitably. Next step is review and launch. It is giving me a warning. Okay, so this is nothing, just prompting me because I had selected the army with SQL server also, and I have not enabled any SQL server ports. So this 1433 is the native port of SQL server. This review looks good. This is not eligible for free usage tier. You can select a free usage tier enabled instance size, no problem. I do not have a key pair, so I will create one. So I'm naming it project demo. Download my key pair and save it to my desktop, and just go ahead and launch the instance. So my instance is now booting up, and you can also note that a private IP has been assigned from my first public subnet, the public subnet 1 in region 2A. A public IP has also been assigned and the instance is now in running, so I will try to connect. So the first step is to download the remote desktop file. I will save it on my desktop. This is just a shortcut with the IP address pre-filled in the RDP, and get password. The password is not available yet. I have to wait for at least 4 minutes after launching the instance. So after a while I try again, and this option is available now. It is asking for my key pair which I had downloaded after generation. So I will select my key pair which I have saved. Here it is, and click on decrypt password. So it is showing me the system generated password of Windows administrator account. I will just copy it Open my RDP shortcut. So once prompted, I will just enter the password, click yes on all the prompts, and here I log in into my Windows instance using the remote desktop protocol. So I will just try to open up the IIS manager to have a look what features are available here. Just double click on the server node. So since my application is built in using PHP language, I will have to install the plugins. So for that I will download and install web platform installer from Microsoft. This is just an automated tool which automatically installs all the required features and plugins into the IIS without any manual configuration. So once WPI is done, so it is here launching. I will just search for PHP in this, and I get multiple versions of PHP. I will in particular select 5.6 and add. So here it is showing that 4 items are here, like Microsoft SQL Server driver, PHP manager, etc. I'll go forward and accept and install. It will download and install all the 4 components, and once done I will get a success message. So here it is, everything is done. I just exit it, come back to my IIS manager, double click on the node. So PHP manager is already present here. So things look good. This is the order in which documents are processed. So PHP is the lowest. I will just move it up so that the priority is increased of the PHP files. Expand the site, check this default site which is the one already created by IIS, explore and go to the folder. So this is the path where we will be having the files. In the meanwhile, I just go to my EC2 instance and copy the public DNS of my web server and open it in a browser, so I can see a default page of IIS opening, which means my web server is working perfectly fine. I just go to the web directory and remove all the default files. I've already taken a backup of this folder, and now I will copy this project code that I have downloaded. So I will copy from there and paste it here in the web directory. Now I will try to access my website in the browser. Just refresh it. So here is a connection error message which comes from the database connection string. That means my application is not able to establish a connection with the database. Here is my connection string file, connect.php. So this is the SQL file that I need to install on RDS. But before that I will just go back to my EC2 and create an image of the instance, since I have already configured PHP and loaded my project code on this. So just select the instance, go to actions, image, and create an image. Give any suitable name and description for this. So I am writing Windows Web PHP, and image description is Windows with IIS SQL Server and PHP enabled. So everything is done. Just create this, and now it is in pending state. It will take a couple of minutes before becoming available for creation of new instances. So in the meanwhile I have given it a name tag, and now I will go to RDS service and start creation of my MySQL database. So I will select MySQL database engine, community edition, the test and development version. Select the smallest instance possible. I do not need multi-availability zone deployment, and just give any identifier, username and password for your database. Next. So here I see my VPC is available, but I cannot select any subnet. It is asking to create a new subnet group. So what is this? So I need to right now cancel this, and in the left menu I can see that there is a subnet group item. So I have an option to create one. I just give any name and description and select uh, the VPC that I have created. Yes, here I select my VPC, this one. Then I select availability zone and the private subnet in this availability zone. This is my private subnet of 2A. Then I will select 2B and the private subnet in 2B. So minimum of two different availability zones are required for a subnet group. That is why we had used two availability zones while creating our subnets. Just verify your subnet ID once. Okay. Here are my private subnets. So just check the subnet ID and match it with what you have selected for your subnet group and create it. So it will take few seconds. Just refresh it. Yes, my subnet group has been created and available. Now I will start launching the instance with the same settings. T2 micro, no multi-AZ, identifier, username and password. Hit next. Now select your VPC and you will see that yes, your subnet group is available now. So I do not need any public access. I will just select any availability zone. I am selecting the availability zone where I have created my web server. I have already selected the security group, given a database name. Other things look fine. I don't need any other settings. Since this is just a project demo, I do not need any backups to be done, so I am just disabling it. I don't even need any enhanced monitoring. I will just go ahead and launch my DB instances with these settings. So this will take another few minutes to become available. It is in pending state right now. So after a few minutes this will become available like this. So once done, just you need to copy this endpoint URL and go to your connection string file, which is connect.php. Open it at any editor. Change the host name to this URL without the port number. Remove the port number. Also change the password and database name which we have already used during the creation of our RDS instance. So this is all required to be done in the connection string. Now I will open, I'm using HighSQL as a MySQL client. You can use any other software of your choice like MySQL Workbench, Navicat, etc. So in the hostname I am giving the URL, user was root, and the password that I have set. I will also enter the database name and open. So re-entering the password, open, and here I see that my database has been connected from the EC2 instance using this client software. So I am opening my SQL file of the project and just running the query. So all these queries have successful now. Just refresh the connection and I can see that these tables have been now created. Okay, so now I will refresh my application and I see that the page has been loaded. There is no connection error. And one thing we can do, just create a bucket for the resources of this website like images, etc. So in the same region I am creating one bucket. Okay, so here I am trying to just create versioning and logging to be enabled for this particular bucket, since it will be accessed from public internet. So here is some error. Okay, let me check what happened. So logging was not enabled I cannot store the logs in the same bucket. Now I am giving a different bucket name. Target path, I have given something, so it is enabled now. Okay, so everyone can see the objects now. So I'm going ahead and uploading the image files. I will just drag and drop and see that once successful, these two images are here. I have the public URL for accessing these images as well. So I just go ahead and check where is the image tag being used. Here is no image tag found. So there is another way, just launch the inspector. So I find that the image is being loaded in the CSS file as a background of the body. So I will go to the CSS file and replace the link of the image with public URL of this S3. So once this is done, you can find that image should be loading. Oh, here is some error. Access denied, it is forbidden. So just check the URL. This is also giving access denied. So there has been an issue. Let's resolve it. Okay. Once you check the bucket policy, you will find that this is blank. We need to generate a policy for it. So we will use the policy generator. This is a S3 bucket policy. Principal will be everything. So I'm putting star get object and put the ARN of the bucket and generate policy. So copy this JSON and paste it here and save it. So that is all that needs to be done. Now I'll copy the link and test it once. So the image is loading fine. Okay, so in my web page also it just gets loaded. So next step is to just try and attempt a login. Admin is my default password and I am logged in into the. So we have multiple modules, like in student screen I can just go and view something. Some students have been already listed here. So I can delete a record using the delete icon. If I want, I can change the values using the update. So I'm just changing here and update. Now if I'm going to view, I will see the updated version. I can search for a particular entity. So the search is also working fine. And you can always do entry of new entries using this form. So this is applicable to all the things. So in the meanwhile, I can see that my AMI is ready now. I can go to actions and launch new instances using this AMI. I will now go to the load balancers and create a load balancer. So classic load balancer will do equally good for me. I'm giving it a name, Project Demo, and selecting my VPC. Ports of HTTP are already selected. Now I need to select two subnets here. I'm selecting my public subnets. Next, the security group I am selecting for my web server. So it is prompting me to use HTTPS or SSL. I am not using it. My path is index.php, not HTML. Next, I will select my existing instance. I am giving it a tag, a key value pair, review and create. So here it is. Now it is created. Here is a public DNS of the load balancer. Right now it will give a DNS error. It will take a few minutes before the DNS can be propagated. So in the meanwhile, I will go and create a launch configuration and auto scaling group around this elastic load balancer. Just let us create. Step 1 is to create a launch configuration. So I will select my AMI of the web PHP server that I had selected with the same instance size. Be careful about the free web tier at this stage. So I'm giving it a name to the configuration. Okay, so web auto scale launch config. In the advanced settings, I don't think. Okay, let us assign a public IP address to every instance. Since I am assigning these instances to behind a load balancer, this is not very mandatory, but still I am attaching it. I have selected my storage default and security group of web server. I already have this key pair, so I created it. Now in auto scaling group, just give it any name. So I have selected my VPC and subnet. Here you should select all the availability zone in public subnets, so that your instances launch in different availability zones. I am selecting only one. I selected my load balancer, and okay, rest is fine. Now I'm defining the capacity of this auto scaling group, so it can scale between 1 and 4 instances. Target value of CPU utilization is 90%, after which it will launch a new instance, and you can send notifications. You can create a new SNS entry. I already have my email ID configured there, so just review and launch. Everything looks fine. Okay, so now you can see the instances here. One instance has been launched from using of auto scale. It is in pending state. Now I go to my load balancer and see that there are two instances now instead of one. One was already existing and one has been just created by auto scaling. Here it is, a second one. Just ignore the ones which are terminated. Let's see only the running ones. Okay, yes, here. So I have two running instances. This is the web server 2 created by autoscale policy, and just come to the load balancer once. Let me try once again accessing by using the public DNS. Okay, I'll refresh it. Before that I will flush my DNS once and check it. Yes, it is working now. So I can access using the DNS name of my load balancer. The requests are being forwarded to the web server instances attached to the load balancer. So activity is now successful. Everything is working. Instance is also healthy. Monitoring different metrics are available, you can see, and okay, so next service that we are going to watch is CloudWatch. Here you can configure different metrics to be checked. We are getting one alarm as insufficient data, so just wait for a moment and refresh it once. So now it goes okay, the data is available. So this is the 90% alarm that we had configured in our load balancer. This is some other alarm I had configured earlier. You can ignore it completely. This is not relevant to our project. Okay, so our status is okay, and right now you can go to dashboard and create a dashboard for your project. I will choose the line graph format. Let us configure it. You can select any parameter here. I am going to Elastic Load Balancer and selecting a few parameters. I am switching from line to number, so I can see the request counts, latency, and other parameters over here. Similarly, if I do not want a dashboard to be configured, I can directly go to the metrics section and choose the metrics of my choice, which will start appearing above. So I have 2 healthy hosts and 0 unhealthy hosts. So if I go to my load balancer, I can see that there are 2 in service instances. That is it. So next we are going to check the IAM, identity access management. We will quickly create a user here. Let us add a user. So I am giving it project stop start and giving it only programmatic access using the access key and secret access key. I will attach existing policies. I will give it access to RDS. For a testing and demo, I'm giving it RDS full access, and then just create it. So I have now the username, access key ID and secret access key. So this I will just save it somewhere for the moment, or better let me just enter it into my command prompt. I've already installed the AWS CLI installer on my system. So AWS configure, just add the access key ID and the secret key ID, also the geographic region and the output format that you need. So these are correct. I'm done. So I'm trying to check my RDS instance using this command. This should list my instances. So here is my instance. You can see that there is only one instance being shown, only one block is there, and the status is available. Instance name identifier is also there. Next step will be to I will attempt to stop this RDS instance. I will do AWS RDS stop DB instance, and I will add a parameter for DB instance identifier and give the identifier name, which is Project Demo, and then hit enter. It will take a few seconds to execute, and then we can see that same metadata is returned, but the DB instance status is now stopping. So that is it. We go to the web GUI and refresh it once. The available status will change to stopping. So apart from these command line tools or PowerShell scripts, we can use Lambda also to achieve the same thing. First we go to IAM, create a policy. I will create using your own policy, give it a name, description, and in policy document I will write the JSON code which will allow access to stop and start RDS instances. So be careful with the version number, and this will be the code here. Action will be to start and stop RDS instances, stop DB instance as well as RDS start DB instance. And this will be, as of now I am applying this policy to all resources, all RDS resources. So effect will be to allow, and resources will be all. So this is pretty much it. Just create this policy. Once this is created, yes, you can see that this is a customer managed policy created over here. Now go to roles, create a new role using AWS Lambda and link this policy that we have just created. Give a name, description, okay, and create this role. So as soon as this is created, just go to your Lambda, get started with the blank function, no target right now. Next, give a name description. Runtime will be Node.js 6, and then I will upload a zip file as a code instead of typing it all here. We can achieve this automation using AWS Lambda service also. I have written a small piece of code here which I will show you. So in stop, I have imported I import the AWS SDK, then I pass on the DB instance identifier and identifier for creation of a snapshot in the format specified, like instance ID hyphen date, etc. And this one is the index.js, where I have mentioned different switch case statements for stop, start, which will take the parameters from here. So I will go ahead, just zip it and import it into a Lambda function. So here I am uploading it. I have already created a blank Lambda function. Just add the code in a zip format. I am choosing an existing role I had already created, and then just create function. It will take a few seconds to create the function. Once done, you can choose actions and configure test event. So here is a blank JSON. Feel free to just remove it and add your own code. So my code requires two parameters, the instances identifier as well as the action which needs to be taken. So my instance name here I will pass on as an object which was project demo, and the action is to stop this instance. Yes, let us start it. It was already stopped by the CLI. So it's done. Execution result is succeeded. Now if you see the output, go to the GUI once. It was already stopped. In the result you can see that it has executed for a few milliseconds, and only 32 MB out of my 128 MB of Lambda memory has been consumed. So very less resource has been taken, and for a fraction of second of AWS billing I have done it. So the status is now starting in the web GUI. If I just refresh it, the stopped status will change and now it will show as starting. So we have seen two methods of automation. One was CLI. This is the second method, Lambda function. But as far as we have seen till now, this was a manual method. So how we can automate it? The answer is using CloudWatch. In CloudWatch, just go to rules in the left navigation bar, create rule. Instead of event pattern, just select schedule. In schedule you can mention a frequency or a proper cron job expression. So I will go for a cron expression, since I am targeting to stop my instances on every workday in the evening at 6 PM and then start them automatically in the morning every workday at 8 AM. So I am preparing a cron expression here. Since these timings will be in GMT time zone, I will have to convert it into IST. So if I write 18 hours here like this, so this Monday to Friday, see this is showing 18 hours GMT. So I need to specify time in Indian Standard Time, so which is 5 hours 30 minutes ahead of GMT. So I have to sorry, not add it but subtract it. So this will be 12:30 p.m. every day in GMT time zone. This will be equivalent to 6 p.m. IST of every work day. Now we can add a target. Target will be our Lambda function, stop RDS. We can configure input, the JSON expression that we had given already. So the same expression I will give with action as stop. So I need to specify the DB instance identifier first of all. Instances colon an object with the string of my DB instance identifier, that is AWS Demo, and the second one is action, which is to stop. That is it. That is pretty much it. So I go ahead and configure details. It will ask for a name and description. I will give any suitable name. So I've given a name, shut RDS 6 p.m. and a description also here, like stop RDS instances at 6 p.m. every workday. So there is a status flag. You can keep it enabled or just save it without enabling it. So I have enabled it already. So my function is active. It will be called automatically at 6 p.m. IST every workday, that is Monday to Friday. Similarly, I am configuring a cron expression for 8 a.m. in the morning. This I guess will be like 2:30 a.m. GMT. So if I add 5 hours 30 minutes to this, I will get 8 a.m. So every month, Monday to Friday every year, yes, this is it. So next 10 trigger details are there. I will add my function, and in the input, in the action will be changed. Instance identifier will remain same. Instances, I am adding my AWS Demo RDS instance, and state the action as start. And close the bracket. That's it. I go ahead and configure the details with name and description. This will be start RDS at 8 a.m. and create this rule. So two rules have been created. One will start at 8 a.m. every day, and another will shut it every day. Okay, just let me edit it a little bit to make the description look symmetric. Okay, you can edit it. So just save it here. So I'm done. Everything is active. So I have now automated it using Lambda function. The benefit of using Lambda function is that Lambda function over PowerShell or CLI is that in case of CLI, you need to keep your system running from where you are calling these commands. But in Lambda function, these execute over the AWS platform, and you are built in microseconds. So that is pretty much it. Next we see if we go to the trigger section, of my Lambda function, you can see that CloudWatch events have been configured as a trigger for this function to stop and start. And going to the CloudTrail, you can see that let us use CLI to check my CloudTrails. So AWS CloudTrail, describe trails. This will show the CloudTrail that I have configured, and then I will query this trail for any particular type of events. So let us say I will go ahead and check if any EC2 instance has been shut or not during the duration we have been attempting this project. So AWS CloudTrail, lookup events, lookup attributes, pass the attribute name and attribute attribute key is event name, and attribute value will be stop instances. So this will query the whole log files for any stop instances type of event name. So it has found one event. So the event ID is here with all the details like the account ID in which it is done, the username which was used, it was an IAM user. Yes, I am using IAM user only. I do not use my root account as a security practice. And there is my access key. AWS admin is my username, the timestamp when this happened, and you can even find that EC2 service has been affected, and instance ID has been mentioned. Even my IP address which I had used to access has been logged. So we have configured our project with automation using CLI, Lambda, and we have configured CloudTrail audit logs. We have already created VPC with secure private and public subnets, and launched EC2 with auto scaling, which will be used as a web server, and RDS instances which are launched in private subnet. They are not publicly accessible. So we have configured our software project. The project is already running. I will give the link for downloading the source code in description. You can download, configure your AWS services accordingly, and go ahead. If required, you should, I recommend that you use this project as a reference and go ahead, modify it, and build your own project in your own way. Thank you.